It gets out of hand.
We're in town.
All right. Welcome back, kids. Review of minutes. Everybody see the minutes? I sent them out. Everybody get them? Any changes? You wouldn't see them, so, did I send them to you?
Yeah, I read
Okay.
a little bit.
Okay. Any changes? Any comments? No? Motion to accept the minutes from October.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Hello, Craig. Can I double check and make sure I'm being heard?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, Bill.
Yeah, I apologize, board, committee. I had to be home tonight because of some physical issues. But I'm with you in spirit and in mind.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'd like to introduce,
The mind part of it's a bit of a stretch, but
we've always known that about you. We love you for it.
okay. I'll keep my mouth shut.
No, you're fine. Agenda item number 3, introduction of new member, Derek Bolduc. Derek, welcome.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little about yourself, please? Those who don't know you.
Local shellfisherman and carpenter. Just, I'm really curious about what you do, what you all do here.
So are we.
And hopefully I can bring some of my experience, education, what I've learned, decades of shellfishing, right here to your table. Hopefully I can help be a benefit of some kind.
Excellent.
Really why I'm here.
Okay, that's why we're all here. Excellent. Thank you very much. Nice to have you.
By chance, are you related to Bob Bolduc years ago?
That was my dad.
That was your dad?
Yeah. He wasn't from around here, though.
No, but he was out of Barnstable. He had a boat called the Annie B.
No, somebody different.
Okay.
All right. Agenda item number 4, public comment announcements. Do we have any public comments from the David Slack?
Just a quick one. I was talking to Josh Reitzman today, and he said that this summer, they're going to get all the towns together to talk about propagation and try to figure out ways to optimize it and look at some of the variables that affect it so that it will be more productive going forward. It's going to be kind of a tough lift because there's so many variables. The obvious ones are when to do it, what size to do, and predation, which is going to vary by every water body. So that'll be this summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I do have a, I guess, well, it's for, did we put Owen in for future agenda? Okay, all right, thank you. Oh, yeah, I got it, yeah, okay, all right. Okay, nothing else,
We got one in the crowd.
oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, sorry, I'm a newbie here, so
Step right up to the microphone, please.
assume I'm stupid, just tell me what to do.
Microphone, mention your name and why are you here?
No problem. So my name's Vincent DiGiacomo, live in South Orleans, been there for 20 years or so. And I'm just curious of the level of interest of the Waterways Committee as it relates to Pleasant Bay access, from launch ramps or however. Just curious the level of interest on that.
We have, not just interest, we have the power to make, well, I guess, recommendations to the selectmen, select board, excuse me, as to how we feel access and just overall use of those, the waterways should or could be used.
And is it a topic that the Waterways Committee would like to take up? In other words, what's the general feeling overall of access to Pleasant Bay for townspeople, be it recreational or commercial?
I can speak for myself. I don't know if we've actually had that in-depth conversation, except for maybe when we were looking. Yeah, but when we were looking at, what's the address of Port Nimket?
Yeah, Port Nimket Landing, right?
Right.
So we did,
I invited Vincent here tonight because
Gotcha.
I've talked to him on the phone a couple times, and, you know, he has some ideas and witnesses what goes on down at Port Nicket Landing on a regular basis.
Sometimes too much.
You know, with the overlap of commercial use versus recreational use, and then trying to just be creative in ideas about how to, you know, expand access to Pleasant Bay, and try to kind of
We
some of
welcome,
that.
we welcome creative ideas, because you know what, the landings all around the town of Orleans are antiquated. They're, most of them are probably, I'd say at least 200 years old, if not more.
Oh, yeah,
And there's not a lot of room for multiple uses.
exactly.
So it's really tough, unless the town can purchase property adjacent that we can utilize to expand the parking areas. There's not much we can really do. We have some ideas, we'd love to hear them.
I do, and I think it centers on not only recreational, but also commercial, and I think ways to kind of assist both sides. So,
Good.
you know, I'd say it's a pretty broad topic, but I think to make the long, you know, if you distill it down very simply, there's really only one ramp in the town for power, and that's over at River Road. So when you really look at it, because, you know, I don't know how many folks actually trailer boats here, but if you've experienced the ramps, River
have.
Road's kind of about it.
Well, for any kind of larger vessel, for sure.
I'm thinking anything between, you know, power and between 15 and 22 feet. Not huge.
Or bigger, I've seen 27 and 20.
Oh, yeah, there's some big ones that run out of River
sure.
Road, absolutely,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
no question.
Well, you have some ideas you want to share with us today, or you want to come back and,
Well, I think it has to do with those that are interested, if you're willing to kind of get into some levels of discussion of if you think it's actually a problem to be addressed. Because I kind of look at it as, it's a bit of a challenge, and I don't know how many folks trail at any of these ramps. I'm there all the time, and it's a challenge.
yeah.
And it's
What's-
not just me, I mean, I've
What's
put
the challenge? Parking or the actual launching and
It's
retrieval?
all, yeah.
Okay.
And its usage is very high, you know, and obviously it's the summertime that's the problem. I mean, in the off-season, it's really not an issue at all,
Right.
but it's always the summertime, which is, you know, when we want to get out there and do shellfishing and fishing and everything else.
We're more than welcome to listen to anything you want to say. That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
our job.
And I think it more has to do with the fact of, you know, I could go on and on, but that's not of value. What I'm more thinking of is if it's a problem that the Waterways Committee believes need to be solved, meaning more access, then I think it's worthy of at least some discussions to say, where do we think we have a problem, and let's try to jot down some, what do we need from the access of the town waterways?
When you say more access, you mean more landings? You just mean enlarged space at the existing landings?
More than one, yeah, because right now it's only River Road essentially. And I think there's multiple opportunities inside the town to actually help expand it significantly.
Well, there's Quonset Road, there's Port Nimbicket Road, there's two landings there.
Oh, yeah, no,
They're not great, but they're usable, for sure.
hit them all.
Yeah. Barley Neck
Certainly.
Road, I mean, there's a few.
Yep.
But as you say, River Road is probably, it's the most used and it's probably the most versatile, for sure.
By far and away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it gets kind of sporty at some of the other
Oh, yeah,
landings.
oh, yeah,
As we probably have seen. so.
for sure, yeah.
Can I add, Mr. Chair? As a future agenda item, we've set on the itinerary to discuss potential dredging of the Powah Creek and, you know, opening up that situation, kind of looking at that spot specific. It was shelved at one point, looking at Pleasant Bay as a whole for a dredging opportunity, just because of the complications for locations for the spoils, dewatering the spoils, and the costs associated with trucking the spoils off. So, and cost versus benefit, you know, was somewhat challenging for some of these terminal ponds where we lack all access during all tides. Yet there, you know, some of them are just terminal ponds with, you know, small mooring fields. But Port Nicolet Landing is one of our only boat ramps, and, you know, it's one of the ones that we have right now that we need to take care of. So I think we should, you know, that might be the catalyst to start that conversation about,
Sure.
you know, what is something, you know, that we can act on now, and then kind of having a broader discussion about looking at other options as well.
Sure, reasonable for sure. We can certainly put you on a future agenda item if you, unless, would you like to speak to a few members at a private, at a separate meeting besides this meeting here?
Well, I guess I'd hate to be a voice in the wilderness trying to solve a problem that no one thinks is a problem. So what I'm really looking for is who out there really believes that it's a problem? Because if I'm the only one, then it's probably not time well spent for anyone.
I think anybody who's a serious boater knows that there's issues all around the town, not just in Pleasant Bay, as far as landings. We're more than welcome to hear what you have to say.
Okay, all right.
Do you want to send us an email? Do you want to sit down and like I said, discuss with a smaller group? Or
It would be great to just have a chat with those that really care from the Waterways Committee and just
I
say,
think we all care, right?
I'm thinking like, what's the solution? Like, they're small and there's no parking, but I don't know, like, how do we change that? I don't-
so,
We've discussed it many times.
Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's a bite at a time. So, okay, we can look at Powwow, that's an example, not the perfect one, but it's an example. So Powwow has filled in quite a bit.
Yep.
Now, essentially, it's not passable, and it's very tidal. So that one's become an issue. So what do we really need out of Powwow? Well, we probably want to write that down.
That's
And
on a
let's-
future agenda item.
And that's what I'm thinking, is if we were to say, from a Waterways Committee, what are we trying to get out of that ramp? It might not be a bad way to start. You start on one, and can you now, say, bridge that to the other landings? I think you could. One great example might be the one down in Meeting House. It's a great opportunity there, lots of room, move around. The ramp, can't really use it. So it's just one example.
It's a very shallow pitch at Meeting House.
It's a shallow pitch in Meeting House. However, when you look at the embankment and the topography and the rise of it, gravel and some bracing
Yeah.
could solve that.
Oh, yeah,
And so
no doubt.
we're not talking huge dollars here.
I know.
And then I think, for the oyster guys out there, I've watched them and I deal with what they deal with. I don't know how they do it, to be perfectly blunt. And I feel bad for them. And I kind of look at it as I think about the oyster guys, it's like the town granted them a chunk of land in the middle of conservation lands with no access to it. So they didn't really even have a way to process their catch.
Well,
I'm
there's
thinking-
access at Port Nemicat.
But
And
that's exactly my point.
I'm getting at it. So hold on. From half tide down and half tide up, they can get in and out no problem.
No, I know.
They're working primarily low tide. So I mean, Dave, is there an issue?
Well, it has showed more than
Yes.
it was when I finished up there. But we managed, the ramp, boom, you drop off the end.
Right.
Then you got deep water. Then you lift your outboard up and you go as slow as you can to get in and out.
And then you hit 6 inches. Yeah, exactly.
What about enforcement? Is that an issue with Powwow from your standpoint?
Yeah, from what perspective?
Access to the dock.
Well, I've been run down twice, and I've watched some barroom brawls there, but I don't partake in those. So, I mean, I think anything where it's kind of wide open and people can do what they want and you compete commercial with recreational interests, I think there's gonna be friction. So, I kind of expect it. It's, how's a good way to put this? We live in probably one of the most beautiful places on the planet. We probably ought to act accordingly. And it's just when people are having a bad day, they just don't. But we can't change people's behavior. So what can we change? We can change some of the guidelines and rules around how it operates in the facility. Like, I'm used to seeing Chatham and Harwich, where the shell fishermen, or the fishermen, as the case may be, the commercial interests, have real, no-kidding facilities to utilize. They have the ability to process their catch, get it to market quickly, settle with the buyers, all that. In Orleans, we have nothing. Nothing. I mean,
They also have multiple deep water ports that we don't have.
I understand that. I
That's an
understand
issue.
that. No, I understand it. But if you look at from a coastal water line, if you drove your car from the Wellfleet line all the way down to the Sagamore Bridge and looked to your right, that's how much shoreline Orleans has, usable shoreline. Chatham has less. So I understand the point about the deep water ports, but Pleasant Bay is a highly utilized area
Sure.
that clearly the town wants, aquaculture in there, and clearly it can be made better. And the guys working it, they're just trying to make a living.
I understand.
So I kind of look at it as the town, in a way, we should be responsible to help them do that. And they really don't have facility to allow them to do that, which then does create some friction with the recreational utilization.
Of course, yeah.
By definition. So I think that's the type of things that maybe the powwow experiment would lead to. I don't know. But, to me, we can't solve it all. Maybe bite at a time, and then once we get one or two successes, can we scale it? I don't know.
We
But-
recently, a smaller group of us recently talked about access to in and out of Powah, and the fact that it's silted, and we understand that. One of the bigger problems is that there's no place to put the sand. When you dredge, you need a place to put it. Either it's further offshore, like say in Cape Cod Bay, where you can easily drop it somewhere where it's not in a way, or you have to go on a beach someplace or a parking lot. There's not a lot in Pleasant Bay.
I can appreciate that. Has an engineering firm looked at it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Couple-year study.
Yes, right.
Yeah, we brought in coastal engineers to look at logistics. I can bring in, and I have someone willing to come in to the meeting that we discussed it, who's an expert in, permitting and policy for
Was the
dredging.
woman's name from what was all?
I don't want to sign them up
Okay.
at the moment, but it's under discussion.
Okay.
Because there's multiple ways to deal with that sort of thing. They do it in Harwich and Chatham all the time.
Yeah.
And there's in situ disposition of the materials. And it all obviously has to do with an analysis of what is in the materials itself.
Compatible material, but,
Sure.
right, and then we will have that conversation, like, some of it's more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, agreed.
What do they do with it in Chatham? With spoils?
Depends where.
Depends where, but they use compatible material to nourish their beaches, and if they have, private shoreline that can take nourishment to meet certain profiles, they'll use it. And a lot of that material, as long as it doesn't have heavy organics in it, would be compatible use on shorelines. The problem is that we don't have the shorelines in Pleasant Bay that are set up to take the amount of cubic yards that we're looking for disposal. Some of it's not compatible for shoreline nourishment, therefore you need a location to dewater it rather than pump it hydraulically directly on the beach. We need dewatering sites. None of our parking lots are big enough they would pretty much destroy our landings if we tried to turn them into dewatering sites. And at that point, we'd have to truck the material off to another location, which the price gets so expensive that it becomes questionable whether it's, the effectiveness of what we're trying to accomplish.
And Powell is a small project. It's not a huge project.
Well, much of it has to do with the scope. In other words, how much material they're moving from where
Sure.
does it, and all these things are degrees. So obviously, when you're removing a lot of material, it's difficult to get rid of it. We had the same problem at Allen Harbor. I lived through that with John Rendon. So it was a challenge. The dewatering of that was a bear, getting it out of there. Ended up in the mass disposal site east of Boston. So something at Powwow, it's tiny. It's tiny.
Yeah.
To me, it would be a great little microscopic test.
Sure.
If we can get this right, well, why don't we scale it? Let's look at another ramp and just, work on them steadily. Because none of this can be solved in one fell swoop. These are sizable, civil projects.
We're more than welcome to listen to what you have to say. Seriously, I'm not trying to blow you off, but just send us an email. If you want to send it to Nate,
I will.
he'll pass it around to the rest of the committee.
Okay.
And we'll,
We've got it on the future agenda. Should we
Yes.
expand that from dredging powwow to boat launches townwide?
in general,
Just have overall discussion.
I'm wondering
Powwow aside, but
if we want to start with Powell, like he suggests, and then we can expand from there. But either way, I'm sure we're all open to it.
Okay.
Sir? Come on up. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, what was your first name?
Vincent?
Vincent, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forget your name.
Yeah, Tony Pearl.
Thank you.
As a member of the Finance Committee, I can't join any other committees, but I would, as a citizen, I would encourage you guys to really do what's been done at Rock Harbor and enhance the whole value of Orleans by aggressively going after things that can be done to increase the water access for the public. And this is clearly one of those things. But when I hear people say, well, you know, it's only going to be a small change, I think making this committee is the one that can be aggressive about making Orleans as a town much more of an access to the whole aqua area
Adventure.
of the Cape, and I would hope that you guys would do that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So, okay. Send an email. Do you have Nate's address? You have Nate's email address?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you mind? Is that okay with you? That's okay with you?
Absolutely. And then Vincent, once we get email connections, as we lock it into an agenda, then we'll reach out to you, let you know when we'll be discussing. And if we decide we want to talk beforehand, we can do that as well.
And we could do it. We could set up a meeting with just a couple of members just to, you know, kind of figure out.
Yeah, because I
Take
don't
us.
want to be too far off the reservation. I want to be at least close to what you're trying to do, that's all.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Thank you very much.
nothing feels better than actually getting something done, right? And I think that Pawa and looking at, taking steps here, actionable things that we can get accomplished, and then expanding that conversation as we get something under our belt would be the way to move forward.
As a committee, I believe the town fathers like us and they kind of trust what we're saying. I believe. I mean, they have in the past, so I don't see, this is a good place to start. So, yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Sure, thank you. Is that it? Okay. Agenda item number 5, Rock Harbor, Young's Fish Market update. Nate?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I'm sure as all of you already know, back in early November, there was an unfortunate crane accident at Rock Harbor where they dropped a piece of gear on the roof of Young's Fish Market. Young's Fish Market's owned by Ron Harrison, who also owns Nauset Fish Market. At this point, he's working with the insurance company from the construction company that had the crane accident. And we're looking for an update soon from Ron about how we'd like to move forward and what he's going to do with the building. There's, I don't want to speak ahead of ourselves, but basically it's a privately owned building on town property with a lease contract that's in place that was expiring this spring. At that point, it would have to go back out to bid, right, for competitive use on town property. It's procurement laws. I just want to make sure the public understands it's a complicated situation, right? So Ron has lost his building. Ron has to decide whether he wants to rebuild a building that's been there for, Bud, 70 years? 70 years? How long has the building been there?
I thought it was every 3 years.
No.
How long has the building been there?
Oh, close to 100.
I thought it was 1903.
Okay. The building's been there a long time. Without getting ahead of ourselves, we have to sit down with Mr. Harrison and figure out, the town wants to support his situation as much as best as we can and explore all opportunities. But, the first thing that he needs to do is iron out his details with the insurance company. I had Ron on the phone on Friday, and that's kind of where we're at. And communication lines are open. We're basically waiting for Ron to reach back out to us to sit down so we can talk about opportunities moving forward. He's just got to get his ducks in a row first. But it's a I don't want to say, it's a time-sensitive situation. Clearly, like the town was a town project. The town would like to have the fish market there, right? It was a part of the revitalization of the harbor. I mean, you have Young's Fish Market, you got Captain Cass's reopening. We discussed earlier, after the summer, probably during the summer, that it was like kind of a thriving place, right? People were, gathering down at Rock Harbor, which was great to see, and there were challenges associated with the amount of people that wanted to be down at Rock Harbor. there's a lot of things we gotta iron out in these conversations, but at the same time, I have a construction project going on down there where whether or not the building is gonna be rebuilt or not is kind of a deciding factor in traffic flow patterns, underground infrastructure, electric lines, you name it. So I'm hoping to have, some clearer direction in the next month or so that before we pave the entire, we put the final touches on the project, we have a better understanding of whether or not the building's gonna be rebuilt or not.
Is there a possibility, something that could be temporary? Or does it, so it would take care of Ronnie Harrison, or?
Yeah. Town's gonna, and I don't wanna speak for, the town manager, but I think that the town is in a situation where we wanna make things right with, Ron Harrison and give him some type of opportunity to keep his business going. Understanding the fact that you can't rebuild that, even if the fish market was gonna be rebuilt, it's not gonna be rebuilt overnight.
Oh,
Yeah.
long-term.
Yeah, right now it's gone anyways.
Right. So tomorrow night, the select board get updated with, maybe I get more information than, I think I'm not assuming anything, but it's basically, it's in Ron's court at this point, communication's open. I've been on the phone with him on a regular basis. It's his building, and he has the right to get all his ducks in a row before he reaches out to us to sit down and try to figure out the future. That's where we're at.
But he realizes that time is kind of the essence.
Yeah,
He must know that.
yeah. He wants that, he's struggling the same way that everybody's struggling with the fact that we want Young's back.
Yeah.
Realities is Ron's gonna get, he's gonna get a check from the insurance company, and he's not guaranteed longevity due to the procurement laws to operate a fish market there. There's like a, competitive bid situation. So we're gonna have to figure something out. But we haven't had that sit-down meeting with him yet, so that's kind of when we're gonna throw around all the different ideas and see if we can come up with something that works for both parties.
Okay. Comments? Kirsten, you had a comment?
Questions. Can you explain how this business that's been around for so long, they own the building, but the town owns the footprint?
Right?
Okay, so then how is that allowed to be up for bid every however many years when the property is not yours, like the physical property of the, like, how does that work? Like, isn't there like some kind of grandfathering or something, and
So
outside
the
of that?
contract's been renewed and gone to town meeting to extend the contract over and over and over again without any competition. It's actually in the contract that upon termination of the contract, Ron is, the owner of the building is responsible for removal of the building.
Okay,
So his contract was up in May, right? So
Okay.
it's gonna be expiring in May. It would be put out to bid. That's not saying anyone else would bid on running a fish market from there. Certainly, the building isn't set up as a fish market in today's standards, right? So
Right.
it's kind of a pre-existing, non-conforming kind of thing. And if you were gonna try to take over that building to run a fish market, and Ron pulled all this stuff out of it, I'm sure it wouldn't be the most ideal place to try to do that. But he has it set up in a way that he made it work. So just because he's been able to secure that contract over and over and over again, we can't guarantee it, right?
Right.
So when you're looking at reinvesting and building it, Ron acquired that building. He didn't build the building, right? So
yeah,
he's kind of in a situation where I think he's gonna have to make decisions, and the town, like I said, the town's gonna be supportive as much as we can.
the other question I had was, I know like in Canada and other places in the United States, prefabbing buildings has come a long ways, where now they can even take photos and get the footprint, and they could probably completely reproduce that building inside a factory, throw it on a truck. small enough, have the crane drop it again on the foundation, but the right way. But it, you know, it'd all be plumbed and everything without having to build it on site, screwing up traffic for another year. You know, it's, I don't know if anybody's thrown that idea around the conversation, but it seems like it would be extremely practical. We do know a crane can fit down there. Maybe they'd be offering to drop it on the foundation for free. But, and the other thing is just a personal comment. You know, we lost Liam's, still haven't recovered. You know, that was such a great landmark. I missed their onion rings. But, you know, Young's has that same kind of passionate crowd. You know, everybody kind of has those food memories, you know, Liam's onion rings, and then, you know, the lobster rolls down at Young's. It's like this, it's like in people's DNA for the experience. And to lose that would be so hard. You know, I know it's just a lobster roll, whatever, but it's, I think food brings memories. I think it kind of connects you to places, and it adds an extra something. And to just have it wiped off and put in a food truck, I'm sorry, food truck people, I get it. It's, you know, a practical way to run a business these days. But it would be, you know, I just would hate to see the loss. I know it might be the practical solution, but I don't know. It just doesn't do anything for me, but I'm old-fashioned. Thank you.
Chris, I think I appreciate what you're saying, and I think we all share that. I mean, you're saying, this is the group of people that would share that same, you know, historical component and the nostalgia piece of it. A lot of these people call that section of town, you know, home during the summer months, so everyone's familiar with that feeling you're talking about. You know, it's one of those things where if we can make Young's Fish Market magically reappear, we would, with the same exact situation that we had. It's just that I want to make sure, moving forward, that emotion doesn't drive the bus where we end up with a replica of a building. For one thing, first of all, that's not a straightforward course. There may be a process where you could avoid building codes, but likely some would get triggered. If they are triggered, it's in a floodplain. A new building would go up on pilings with ADA compliant ramps and every bell and whistle you can imagine to be compliant for a fish market in today's standards. If it was
can't-
deemed historic, it's possible that you could build a replica of the building. If you build a replica of the building and it ends up vacant without someone that's wanting to run a fish market in it, then we have a replica of a fish market where inevitably, hopefully not, someone's selling T-shirts out of it or something. So like, that's the kind of thing where I'm like, we have to make sure we get this right and come up with creative solutions for Ron.
But wouldn't the owners be able to take that building and lift it off the foundation and sell it? If they didn't want to do it, at least they'd have that option to remove it off the property. Like you said, they would have to, if they were to terminate their contract, it's up to them to remove it. So if they had that original building reproduced, at least they'd have the option
That's
to
right.
lift it right up and get it out of town again.
That's right.
And sell it and do whatever.
Unfortunately, it's a 3-year contract. So
Yeah.
with the potential of a 2-year extension, right?
Yes,
So it's possible after.
town meeting. Yeah.
Let's say they took them a year to actually build it and plop it back in place. They may have 4 years to run it and then say, then what? You know, they've already spent their money. What if they can't get their money back by selling it? You know, it's going to be a
Isn't the
specialized
insurance
unit.
paying for this?
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay,
Insurance will pay Ron Harrison.
Right.
okay.
The town's property didn't get changed,
Right, yeah.
but,
It's just the
I mean,
footprint.
right now, the building is gone.
Right, I know.
So if Ron figures he's not gonna renew his lease, he's basically fulfilled his lease obligation.
Right,
Right.
so he can cut and run
Right.
clean.
There's a lot of,
Yep, there's a lot of options.
And you know, like I said, I'm already ahead of myself with this conversation because this conversation hasn't even had between, you know, town decision makers and Ron. So I'm the person that's been the main contact for Ron. Ron's gonna reach back out to us. We're gonna sit down and try to make things right for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
What those solutions look like, we gotta look at all different options, and maybe it means rebuilding Young's Fish Market. I don't have that answer tonight.
Okay,
Right.
thanks.
Thank you. That it?
So,
Do you want to talk about,
Keep going, yeah.
you want to talk about Rock Harbor in general now versus now on your, instead of your natural resources map?
Yeah, we're getting close to being able to pull that crane out of there. That'll be a landmark. Right now, we're pretty much in a situation where we're ready to pour concrete on the offloading dock
That's great.
to set the forms for the sidewalk. The deck on the offloading dock is going to take 2 pours. I mean, that massive deck is going to be, 1 pour, and then the finishing pour, then it'll get stamped with like a brick pattern. The crane is still on site for some wooden piles that need to be driven. Then we're talking about
Where are the new piles going?
along the face of the offloading dock, so that concrete
Oh,
base
okay.
will have bumpers all along
Okay,
along
got it,
it,
got it.
you know. Then we're gonna do some stormwater, water work, but kind of between Captain Cass's, in the alley between the fish market and Captain Cass's. That whole ground will be torn up and put stormwater infiltration basins in there. They're talking about a substantial completion by March 20th, and then we'll just be doing punch list stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that first pour on the pad, they gotta wait for weather on that?
Yes, we're looking for a window right now. Because it's
So
gotta,
a
it's gotta
week of
test
40?
out breaking strength, yeah,
A week of,
Cold under, your blankets won't work because you're cold under.
yeah, no.
right.
What about antifreeze?
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff they can use.
Again, you can put additives in, but you're cold underneath.
Right.
It's not like you're pouring on the ground.
Sure. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Or heated blankets.
Yeah. Like a week of 40 or something, 40 and above.
I don't think they need a week, but they need a few days, like 40 of them above.
Okay. Curious.
Eversource was there today,
Yeah, Eversource jumped the wires,
but they did the work over by Captain Cass's.
right. So there was a power outage there probably for a few hours. So from what I understand, all the power has been moved now.
Which power?
We could connect now if we wanted to after today and light the place up, but we still got to figure out what's going on. We have a power break panel in the middle of the parking lot right
Oh,
now.
right.
Based on the fact that Young's Fish Market was
Right.
there. And if we're thinking about even entertaining the idea of moving that power panel because there's going to be a construction project going on, well, whoever knows how long, now would be the time to do it. So that's in discussion.
That's probably a month by itself.
No,
Couple weeks.
a week. But,
You get that done before you pay them.
Yeah.
but there's also discussion with, we didn't ask for this. We didn't ask for a crane to land on the fish market. So we're working with a
Some people think we did.
construction company about, hey, we designed this whole thing around this building being here. Now you guys crushed the building. Now you got an electric panel sticking up here with no building. Not our fault. So we're working this stuff out.
Where would the panel go if the building wasn't to be
Over
replaced?
by the fuel enclosure.
All right, okay.
I'm wondering if the insurance would pick up part of that cost and relocate those utilities.
No.
We're working on it, that whole conversation. So a lot of things, like little things like that, we want to get the finishing touches on. The gangways they put in, the pins are there's a very little tolerance on the gangways, so the gangways all on the recreational run, the pins in them are sloppy, so that you can put a machine on, take the weight off, and pull the pins out, right? And then you lower the gangways onto the floats, and you haul the floats out into the parking lot. These gangways are sleeves that you could barely fit in if they're perfectly lined up, and pound on them with a sledgehammer. Both gangways, one of them I could reach with a backhoe out of the parking lot, but the northern one, we were having a gantry put in above the pin so that we could use like a chain pull, block and tackle type of thing,
Relieve pressure?
to lever it down.
Okay.
But based on the design of these things, I'm just noticing that it's just little stuff like this. Like, I'm never gonna get this pin line back up, coming in with a float and then even if I had the thing hanging there, because these gangways are so much bigger than those other ones along the other stretch.
Sure.
So now we're talking about maybe adding one more pile on the terminal end of the gangway, and like Eastham does, just leave these things hovering. put the gantry on the other end, so I don't have to float them out of there, I'll just leave them elevated. But important stuff, because if you don't catch it now, and I come back in the spring and I
Oh, yeah, no.
can't get these things back
Yeah, that'd be bad.
installed, so I'm just trying to look at every little detail, because that's the stuff that hangs you up in the end with what you end up with the end product. Goose hummock bulkhead, Robert Hour's kicking butt over there. All the sheets have been driven. They're working, putting.
All the sheets?
Yep. Clapper valves getting installed, the whalers are going on right now. They gotta pour a cap on that thing and they'll be out of there. They had one major obstruction going along the boat ramp. They had excavate, about 6 feet down, there was a massive boulder. They had to take it out of there. In order to take it out of there, they had to tear up some asphalt on the ramp, so they're gonna have to repair that. But they should be done mid-February, latest end of February.
That's cool.
There was a guy there Sunday,
Yeah,
cleaning
yep,
up the box and
yep.
moving stuff around.
Great company. Local.
Any word from Goose Hummock? As
Yeah,
far as-
Phil's been part of the conversation the whole time.
I mean, is he going forward with his,
Yeah, he's got an engineer drawing up,
There.
and they designed what he needs. He just wasn't able to get it done in time to take advantage of the construction equipment that was there on site for us, so. We gave him every opportunity to do that, because, I mean, there's a significant cost with mobilization equipment,
Yep.
but it didn't work out.
good, great.
But I think Phil's comfortable with what's going on, and he's certainly we've been communicating with him all along the way.
Good, great.
The herring run. We have flow data now from all the monitoring that was done through the spring into the summer. And then we have groundwater wells that monitor groundwater seepage over there as well. So we have data. The problem is the data, it was like an anomaly of a year. We had no water. So we have data for worst case scenario, which is good. It's better than having data for best case scenario, because we're gonna build this thing with the expectation that this is gonna happen again, where we're gonna be managing, like, rationing every drop of water, trying to get fish to pass. We're gonna continue the flow data monitoring through this spring to see if, last year hopefully was worst case scenario. But now that they have that, and it's pretty technical stuff, but, they show me all these graphs of what it looks like and where, but they're basically like, you have no flow. I mean, this is incredible that this thing was designed in the 20s and engineered, and it worked. From an 8-foot drop between Pilgrim Lake and Lonnie's Pond, and they were able to ration the water with, technology they had at that time. But the vision, and I think it's the vision of what the town of Orleans want, is that it'll be more of a naturalized system. It's gonna be low impact. And we're getting close to them to be able to show us kind of visually what that looks like, so that we can bring it forward and invite the neighbors, more importantly, invite the neighbors who are gonna be impacted by the project, for access that we're gonna need. In the community, so the community can see what we're talking about how we're gonna fix this herring one to make it so that the fish can not only pass, but can do it, with the least amount of stress as possible.
Can you explain a more naturalized system?
Yeah, you're probably talking like coconut fiber rolls to shore up the bankment. Then you vegetate those, right? So, narrowing in of the channel, stabilizing the erosion, and then using, they said we have a lot of levers we can pull, but there's different ways to control flow and velocity. And a lot of it would be naturalized rock with some concrete, but the concrete's not gonna be really visual. It's just to hold the rocks in place, to create small waterfalls, standing pools, resting areas for the fish. But to be honest, I don't know what that looks like until,
Yeah.
because it's complicated with, it's not like we got a running river here and we're trying to slow the water down. We're trying to ration every drop so that we have depth for the fish to pass, but also enough flow where it encourages them to keep going. And with all the groundwater seepage, it makes it really complicated, because I have the whole thing penned right up right now, trying to save all the water I can in Pilgrim Lake, and the creek's full of water, and it's coming from the,
Oh,
groundwater.
Yeah. Well, it's a maple swamp all around there. so-
Yeah. I'm trying to remember since we last met, it's been a while. We had a precautionary closure of both water bodies in December for high PSP red tide cells. Those were water samples in Salt Pond, that was initial, and then Town Cove. They initially closed Nauset Estuary of precautionary because when you find it in the water, it doesn't necessarily mean that the shellfish are ingesting it. So they need to get the meats off to the labs. What we do is give them samples of cohogs, oysters. They send them off to a lab and see what level of toxin they're holding. And right as we were doing that, we got the data back from Meeting House Pond. It was like 5 times the levels that it was in Nauset Estuary side. Like through the roof, red tide.
Is it still at those levels?
No, dropped right off, plummeted. But it took, Nauset was closed for 10 days. Pleasant Bay was closed for 20 days. Nothing came back in the meats. The meats were fine. The shellfish were, I would guess fairly quiet this time of year in terms of how much they're feeding.
Sure.
But concerning to say the least. Like,
Is this the first time the state has tested for water?
no, they're constantly doing,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So they call it-
This is the first time it showed up.
No, we've had it another winter time when they found it. It's called, it's cell count, so they're taking scoops of water, running back and seeing how much actually, and there's always it's always, most water bodies will have some percentage of these harmful algae in them, but not to these levels where you're seeing a spike. And then Pleasant Bay, like, dropped off to the point where they had no concerns at all after like 2 weeks. But they don't have any reasoning for why we would have gotten a spike like that in early December.
Did I hear a couple of years ago when there was a winter outbreak that it might not have been just a new phase what's happening in these ponds, that it actually could have been happening all these years, they just weren't testing back then. But now they're testing because it's more of a concern. Is that true? Is that true?
I gotta be careful. I mean, I think we're taking a lot closer look at it than.
Okay. I'm just curious. Like, I thought I heard that, so
This
I'm
is the
not
thing.
trying to pin you down.
Yeah, that's fine. Because I don't, Nauset Estuary is sought after by all these scientists region-wide because it's such a predictable red
Oh,
tide location,
interesting, okay.
right? So they're studying Nauset Estuary more than they would be studying Lewis Bay and Yarmouth or, any other place around here that could have red tide at any other time. And now I have Woods Hole, Oceanographic, not Woods Hole Group, Woods Hole, studying Meeting House Pond. They have testing stations in there, and they're monitoring it nonstop because of that,
Because the late
Presence.
fall, early winter
presence of all those cysts in the bottom of it.
Okay, huh. Interesting.
So it's
Kinda
kind of
cool,
like
but
one of
not.
those things where if you look, you're gonna find it. Now,
Well, that's what I'm asking. Were they looking before? Because they were just quote-unquote a spring thing.
well, it was always a Nauset Estuary thing.
But were they looking in the fall? 20 years ago, 15 years ago?
I don't know.
I don't think they were. That's what I heard.
I wanna say that they
Okay.
weren't,
Okay.
That's why, I don't
Okay.
know.
It's curious. All right.
But it's only been the last couple of years where we're getting these kind of knock on your door, December, hey, we're concerned, shut it down.
How long have they been testing the salt pond in East Dam year-round?
At least 30 years, right? Oh, year-round, I don't know.
Because the last couple of years is when they started getting closed down there as well.
Right.
That's right.
Randomly, all last
That's right.
winter, it would be on and off, on and off.
That's right.
And I know they do a lot of sampling, they do a lot of tests, a lot of experiments in salt ponds.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious if they've been tested it all these years. Or they just started.
Well, it kind of seems to line up with the same kind of precautionary closures that we're getting,
Yeah.
Orleans, with that time frame.
Yeah,
So, but we should find out.
I'm just curious.
No, it's a good question.
Yeah, that's kind
I
of.
don't want to make any assumptions that, the
Alright.
reason this is happening is because we're just taking a closer look.
Right.
But it could be.
Yep, certainly possible. Curious.
Can we make sure you're speaking into a microphone
I'm trying, sorry.
Oh, you're doing fine, it's just this corner.
Sorry.
It really drops off. Thank you.
Too casual, too casual.
I should talk, I'm over here, he's learning from me. And then I kind of always open it up to the floor. I mean, those are those three projects, and that closure was probably the top news I have. If anybody's got any questions about anything they can think of, I'm happy to update.
Did you ever go back on the Pleasant Bay experiment boxes? The
Yeah.
Hog seed?
Yeah. We released that data to the committee, right? You weren't here for that,
I
Bob?
must have missed that one.
No, you weren't here.
We
Probably why I
can,
don't
so listen, and I wouldn't feel good trying to summarize what we got, but it was kind of what you'd expect. What was covered did better than what wasn't covered. But there was some interesting stuff, right? Dave?
Not recalling.
Yeah. Like, so this is what we did. From there, we put test stations out in Nauset Estuary right now they're out there, right? In the same timeframe from fall, and we'll put it through to the following fall. And then when we gather that data, we'll compare it to the Pleasant Bay data. And if you want to pop in someday, I have it all. The clams, the size they grew to, we took pictures of it all. And predators that everything that was in each basket. But, because really the question for me is, instead of being anecdotal about it, like, is there a real difference between Nauset Estuary and Pleasant Bay, or are we just saying Pleasant Bay, these things, don't stand, it's much more productive to put our propagation efforts into Nauset Estuary because we see better results. I'd like to know, like, is that actually true?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll keep it going. This is like baby steps, tiny little experiment we did. But
Just started, yeah.
like, it's interesting stuff, and I'm sure Derek would like to be involved with this stuff too, so.
Yeah, I will add one thing, as far as trying to grow quahogs in Pleasant Bay. I think it was last March, I was digging, just quahogging out behind Goose Hummock, and I found 6 smooth channel conch. And I've never found that in the cove. You see, I've seen maybe 3 or 4 over the course of 30 years, and I found 6 in 1 week.
Oh.
So that's something to consider if you're thinking about growing quahogs in the cove or in that area, things like that. Because conch just doesn't live in Nauset Harbor.
Huh.
There's plenty of Pleasant Bay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Somehow they found their way up into the cove, in that one certain area. Because I haven't seen them anywhere else other than that.
Okay.
But that's a big-time predator.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It wouldn't take long for him to settle into town.
Yeah, I know.
That's why we brought you on, Derek.
Is that it for you, Nate?
Yeah, I think so.
Anybody else? Questions for Nate? No? All right. Winding down. Agenda item number 7, future agenda items. We've been talking with Owen Nichols about his current Pleasant Bay study that he's been,
He's a scientist at the Center for
oh, thank you.
Coastal Studies. Yeah.
He's a friend of the committee. He's been here a couple times. This is his 3rd study of over 5 years each, I think, in Pleasant Bay. Just looking.
This is a new one that he ramped up, it's kind of a recent deployment of something that he's doing.
Okay.
He's
great.
coming
I know the actual particulars. Okay. But he's more than willing to sit down and talk with us. He couldn't make it tonight, but he will be with us next month. Mill Pond study. Can you expand on that?
Thursday. It'll be presented Thursday. At 5 o'clock.
At the select board meeting?
No, we're here, its own meeting.
Oh, okay. You know what time?
I believe it's 5 until 7. I think.
This coming Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Future agenda item, dredging Powwow Pond. We touched upon that briefly early.
Yep.
And then, you want to get into that at all, or just?
Oh, I think we've certainly covered it at public
okay.
comment. It's not on the agenda tonight. Let's line up. I want to bring in somebody that, can kind of keep us on track from getting, too crazy with ideas, and understands the permitting challenges and, opportunities that, but also can think outside the box about, there's certain things that just Massachusetts doesn't allow that they allow everywhere else in the, eastern seaboard. But there's potential for some of this stuff to be, used in projects, moving forward with just a little bit of, I think, encouragement from communities.
Future agenda item, 72 Tonsett Road. Do you want to touch on that, Al, or no?
It's just, I think that, at some point, we were involved with that discussion, and I didn't ask for it to be put on future agenda, but, it's something that,
Question mark as to what's going on there.
yeah, I think someone else asked us if we could put that on.
Okay.
Greg, I'd also mentioned our agenda meeting, ADUs.
Yes.
Where are we going with those? Because to me, it's a statewide thing, which may be great in the Berkshires, may be great in Brockton, but being able to put another structure on your property, I think you can build up to 50% of the existing home square.
I don't know specifically, but
there. But to me, we're actually just putting a secondary septic system onto a piece of property that's gonna drain into our waterways.
do they have to tie into the existing septic, or is it a whole new septic attached to it?
I think they've gotta have their own septic.
Leach and everything? Leach field and everything? I don't know anything about it, I have to be honest with you.
That's where I think we gotta get some answers.
Okay.
I can see, if you're tying into the town sewer, have a ball.
Sure.
But I think we're defeating ourselves. We're spending millions of dollars per year on town sewer and trying to clean up our waterways, but now we're possibly doubling up our septic systems in areas that will never see sewer, or at least in
True.
our lifetime.
I understand. Do you want to do a little bit of research on that and get back with us?
Talk to George.
Yeah, okay, great, perfect, thank you. That's all we have right now. Anybody from the audience? Kirsten?
Just one last question in reference back to Young's. If there's gonna be, no rebuild, and the town still has the footprint, has there been any conversation, discussion about turning that footprint into a public restroom to go with this really nice, new, fancy destination?
Honestly, only because I get so comfortable with this group that I've shared as much, there has been no discussion about anything, and I'm like, getting ahead of myself before we've even had conversations internally with town management. It's all on the table. I just wanted to kind of reiterate like the challenges associated with the path forward.
Right.
So,
It dawned on me
Yeah.
back there that the footprint, you have a little bit of plumbing, you'd have to do something about septic or sewer. You have electricity there, a bathroom wouldn't be the worst of things, especially for that area. Somewhere where people can wash their hands, still enjoy whatever's going on around there, but, it might not be people come in for gas, be nice to have a proper bathroom.
Yeah.
I know it's another complication to add to the whole long-term project, but maybe.
I love thinking outside the box,
Thanks.
That's inside the box.
inside the box.
Question about Rock Harbor before we adjourn. The new telephone pole, that's where it's sitting now. It's kind of in the way.
Whole road's gonna be moved over
It is, where's it gonna move to? Where are they moving the road to?
towards the harbor, right? So that whole road's gonna be restriped, and there's gonna be asphalt moved towards the sidewalks, by a couple feet. Obviously, we wouldn't have put the pole there if it wasn't the only location for the pole, right?
I'm like flabbergasted.
It was the only place that we could find a location for that pole, or the pole would have had to stay where it was across the street. Remember the old Osprey pole?
Yeah.
It would have stayed there. So, and I trust traffic flow experts that I have.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
They're Orleans, staff. that
You
have
do?
figured out- yes,
Just kidding.
yes. It's gonna work.
Good, great.
It's scary, it's scary right now.
Yeah, it's like, I couldn't even imagine pulling out of there with a trailer. you know, a 14-foot tin boat on a trailer, you're like,
Yeah.
yes, okay. All right, cool, thank you. Anybody from the audience, Bethany, anything to say? Billy? Jim?
I think we should keep talking about red tide as a future agenda item and maybe bring somebody
Okay.
in to talk about it, or, because it's looking like it's gonna set up as bad as Nauset Marsh,
Yeah.
so yearly, so people need to understand that.
Jim, anything to say? Okay, all right. With that, motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor?
Right.
Motion to adjourn.